All of my green-thumbed friends out there. My name is Ross, and I'm connecting to you live from Mote Marine Laboratory. Thank you so much for joining us here today as part of our Summer Scientist series. So we are fortunate enough to have a wonderful marine lab institution located in Sarasota, Florida, and we have a wonderful lineup of celebrity scientists that have been joining us throughout this summer and sharing what their research is and what they are up to here at Mote Marine Laboratory. Now, last week we talked about algae. The previous week we learned all about technology. We've learned about some amazing animals. And a lot of what we've learned about in the past has focused on what's going on in the ocean. But today we're going to be breaking away from that trend and we're going to focus on some amazing terrestrial topics. Now, Mote Marine Laboratory was established back in 1955 with some marine focused science with our founding director, Dr. Eugenie Clark. She was a world famous shark scientist. She learned all about behavioral science and paved the way for both shark science as well as women in marine science in general. Now, we are fortunate enough to have some amazing lineups of fantastic or fantastic female scientists here at Mote. And our celebrity guest today is a wonderful female scientist, but she does not focus on the marine environment. In fact, I am set up in this jungle because it reflects what her average everyday workstation actually is. Now, I hope that we're going to have a wonderful presentation today, and I guess you could say it's going to be very stimulating. So it's going to add a whole new meaning to STEM science. But before we dive in and learn all about what our guest scientist does on an average day, we're going to have some interactive questions to keep you on the edge of your seat. It's not just a presentation, it's an interactive webinar. So get ready for our first interactive polling question. So based on what the topic of today's program is going to be, the first question is, a horticulturist works with what? Seahorses, hydrology, gardens, or horoscopes? So we are going to be interviewing a horticulturist today. But what in the world even is that? Well, feel free to type in your guess in the chat box. So while you're thinking this over, while it's fermenting, while it's fertilizing in your mind, we're going to turn it over to our PR manager, Stephanie Kettle, for some current news in the world of marine science today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Kettle, the Public Relations Manager at Mote Marine Laboratory, and here's the news that's making waves. The male loggerhead sea turtle nicknamed JT has been released back into the Gulf, but not without receiving a very important accessory first. JT was rescued off Longboat Key back in April, heavily entangled in a crab trap. He was very thin, indicating he had actually been dragging the crab trap around for an extended period of time. Rescuers and rehabbers were able to remove the crab trap and help JT recover from his injuries and gain 66 pounds in just about 100 days. Prior to release, JT was outfitted with a satellite transmitter, which will allow Mote's Sea Turtle Conservation Research Program to track his whereabouts. Male sea turtles do not return to land after hatching, so they're actually quite difficult to track and study. One of the only chances researchers have of affixing a satellite transmitter is after a male strands and is released. Knowledge about where JT and other male sea turtles go is vitally important for better understanding male populations, their habits, and what areas they use. Be sure to check out JT's track at mote.org/sea turtle tracking. July 14th was Shark and Ray Awareness Day, and if you missed the fun, don't worry. Head to the Association of Zoos and Aquariums YouTube page to check out a full day of exciting and engaging content from shark researchers, caregivers, and veterinarians from around the country. Be sure to check out Mote's Shark and Ray researchers Dr. Bob Huter, Kim Bastos-Hull, and Valerie Hagan on a panel as they discuss sharks and rays in Florida and tracking them around the world. Have you watched the award-winning PBS series Changing Seas? Their newest season features an episode about Mote's research with blue holes, which are deep-sea caverns. The documentary crew was able to dive with Mote to capture some of our researchers exploring amberjack hole in the Gulf of Mexico. Check out this episode and others at changingseas.tv.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. That was really informative. Now, I am thrilled to announce and introduce our amazing guest scientist for today. We are joined by Samantha or Sam Bledstein, who is a wonderful Mote horticulturist. So what is a horticulturist, Sam? So can you unmute and let us know, out of those correct answers, A, B, C, and D, which is the correct answer?
Hi. The correct answer is gardens. So a horticulturist works with gardens.
Wonderful. Now, this is so exciting because Moat Marine Laboratory isn't just a marine science institution, but we're also a public aquarium. And your job is to keep it green, which is so amazing that people come to see the things in the water. And the fact that you just have a beautiful landscape in general, unfortunately, often is missed by guests, which is so unfair. So, you are a garden guru. We are going to throw you in the spotlight. It's time for your claim to fame. So, can you let us know how did you get to where you are? What is your degree? How did you become a plant expert? What is your rags to riches story?
Well, I ended up working with plants in kind of an odd way. So I majored in art and zoology in college. So not plants, nothing to do with plants. I just really liked them. So I started interning at the West Madison Agricultural Research Station during my junior year of school. And then, so my junior and senior years, I did that. And then I got to work here and I just got really interested in it. So it worked out.
If you think about it, plants kind of are that perfect intersectionality between life and art. So, I mean, you can't really do art with sharks or sea turtles. They don't want to hold still. So the fact that plants are that malleable proves that you're creative enough and biologically thinking enough that you can make amazing science art. So as far as an average day goes for you, I have a lot of questions, and I know that you have all the answers for me. So can you let me know, what does an average day look like keeping an aquarium and a marine lab green?
Well, so there isn't really an average day. I should also say, so I am Mote's aquarium services technician. So if my job was like this big, working with plants is actually just like this part of it. So every morning I walk around the aquarium, I check things out and make sure nothing's broken. And then I'll like do a project. So that might be with plants. That was a really fun one. We got to work with some local high schoolers. Oh my gosh. One of my interns made a balloon that looked like my face. And I work on our exhibit things too. So working with plants is a really fun part of my job, and like no 2 days are ever the same.
You are just keeping this whole show running. That is awesome to hear. So the fact that you're a jack of all trades, that not only are you doing the plants, but you're also just doing exhibit design in general. But I guess if you think about it, plants are kind of exhibit design also, that you are keeping the aquarium bright and beautiful from signage to the living signs themselves. Now, based on, you said that you started on an internship. So one of the questions that we've already received is, how did that internship kind of cultivate, pun intended, how did it nourish your interests, your skills? Talk a little bit more about that research center and what transitioned you into your interest in greenery.
Oh, that's a really good question. I got really lucky. Like it was such a cool position. So what I was doing is we got in all of these plants from commercial gardens. So we also grew all of the feed for all the cows on campus, but that was like separate. That was just a cool thing we did. But so we got in all these commercial flowers. We would grow them, and then every plant you buy at a store has been bred to be like the most awesome, best plant like for your situation. So we were testing that. We were letting the plants grow. We were doing research on them. We were collecting a lot of data on how they were doing, like in that environment, in our space, in Wisconsin. And then we would take all these pictures and that data, and we would give it back to the company so they could like use that and get it back to the customer. So I really enjoyed that. And then I also interned at Mote. So when I interned at Mote, I was an aquarium biology intern student. And so I got to work in the aquarium and do all of that and do some more art things. So I ended up like getting to kind of blend all of that together in my career here.
Awesome. So you're cultivating your own garden of experiences to get to where you are. Now, this is really wonderful to hear that you did the data for this, the analytics for this, that I love your analogy of the best plant for your given space. Now, one of the super cool things that I want to share with our audience is that you just don't work with exclusively terrestrial plants. You have water gardens also. I didn't even know that was a thing. So can you tell us a little bit more about your amazing water gardens? How do you water a water garden?
So those are ponds. So you can see we're actually adding some snook in that picture. That was a very fun morning. That's my high school intern, Olivia. These are some of our gardens out front. But so in our ponds, usually what we're focusing on is actually just kind of keeping the plants tidy, just keeping them controlled, because they want to grow really, really fast. They would love to just be huge and beautiful and all over the place. And we want to have room for our fish to swim. So anytime we have plants in an exhibit space, we're going to focus on the plant's health, but we're also going to make sure that they are suitable like for that exhibit and for those animals.
That is a perfect transition to our next quiz question, actually. So our next quiz question is going to be featuring why native plants are so important. So Sam was just mentioning that we're in Florida. It's very bright, it's very hot, it's very watery, it's very tropical. So there's lots of different ecosystems, lots of different environments. So there's different factors that impact plants' growth. So our next topic and our next interactive question is what factors affect plant growth? So is it A, local climate, B, local soil conditions, C, local pollinators, or D, all of the above? So what do you think is the biggest contributing factor to plant growth, or do you think that all of these play a small little puzzle piece? So let's see what everyone says. Oh, it looks like, all right, unanimous answer. Okay, Sam, what's the correct answer?
D, all of the above.
Absolutely right. So D, all of the above. So the soil, the climate, the water, the pollinators, all of these are really important. Now, I touched on that Florida is a super weird ecosystem, right? I mean, Mote Marine Laboratory, in case you didn't see in that earlier map, we're on an island. So that's really bizarre. Sam, how do you take into account island ecosystem dynamics when you're picking your best plants for the situation?
Oh my, that's a big question. So it's a really good question. It really depends on the bed. So if you guys are out in front of the aquarium, you'll know that we've got a couple of beds of plants out there. It's very bright, it's very sandy, it's very hot, like that really classic kind of island ecosystem. So the plants we put out there have to be really tough. They have to be able to withstand that and really thrive in that environment, because we don't want to choose plants that are going to need a ton of water, a ton of nutrients. That's why we use native plants. On some of our inner courtyard beds, that's a whole different set of challenges, because those beds, they're shaded. We've got this really big roof over the courtyard. And actually, one of the beds, like salt water, will sometimes splash into it from the shark exhibit, and plants don't tend to like that. So we're dealing with these like humid, maybe salty, like not a lot of airflow in the bed. So in those beds, we're going to use like very, very different plants than out front. So we'll use like peperomia or some ferns. So it just depends on what your bed looks like, and
you got to lay in it, right?
Yeah.
Now
yeah.
you brought up a really good point about. I mean, I didn't even think about shark backsplash. Oh my gosh, and that's so crazy that I guess plants wouldn't like that. But then on the flip side, one of your really amazing and really critical jobs is providing ecosystem accurate plants to animal habitats. So can you briefly touch on that? Oh my gosh, you do have to know zoology for botany. Like, this is awesome. So highlight that.
Well, and we should also mention that I'm very lucky. I don't have to know it all. So we have a really wonderful vet here at Moat who helps us like decide what plants are a good choice for a habitat. We have awesome like mammal staff and aquarium staff, and they a lot of them choose their own plants for their exhibits. And then we also have like a really great community of native gardeners here in Sarasota that we're able to like come to with questions and help us find the best plants. But yeah, so we will like kind of try to think about what their environment would look like in the wild. So we want to emulate that. That would be awesome. It's good enrichment for the animals. And then we also have to take the animals into account. So For example, in the otter exhibit, you know how they're like so fun and wonderful and curious and playful? They love to occasionally just shred all their plants. Like they think that's so fun, which is good for them. Like it's good enrichment. That's okay. So we choose plants that are going to be able to withstand that and like still do well. So like palmettos are a great choice because they're very rugged. They've got those thick stems. In the wild, they're also very rugged. Like they do great in that environment. And then like some of our bigger grasses do really well in the otter exhibit.
That you ought to know what types of plants are otter proof. So many different factors go into managing an aquarium and marine lab's ecosystems. Now, I actually see that we're starting to run out of time already, which blows my mind. So, Sam, before we move on to our final conservation plug of today's talk, do you have a favorite plant that you've worked with at Moat? Or on the flip side, is there one that is like such a nuisance for you that is so high maintenance or anything?
I mean, they're all my favorites. I can't choose
Good
a
answer.
favorite. No, but I do have a couple. I really love the beautyberry. I think that's just like, as the name implies, it's gorgeous. And then a really fun one for you guys. If you ever see sunshine mimosa, oh, that's perfect. It's up there in the upper right corner of your screen. It's also called the sensitive plant. So if you touch it, if you touch the leaves, they'll curl up really quickly. It's like a little defense mechanism for the plant. So I just think that one's like amazing. So
That's amazing. So you get to
Yeah.
interact with plants and they get to interact with you right back.
yes.
That's awesome. Now, it's really great that you just highlighted some really amazing native species. So we're going to get to the root of the question right here. And we are going to look at our last interactive question. Now, our last polling question for today is we are going to highlight why native plants are important. So Sam introduced us to some fantastic, or ferntastic, let's make that a pun, some ferntastic native plants. But why do we want to embrace them? So is it A, they don't require as much fertilizer, they don't require as much water, they attract native animals, or all of the above? So why do you want to focus on native plants? Man, we have a really good audience. We must have some master gardeners with us. So Sam, are they guessing the right answer? They're all saying D.
Yeah, they are. They know it.
They do, absolutely. They're not barking up the wrong tree. Now, can you let us know, can you like expand a little bit more about why native plants are important? So they don't need fertilizer? What? I thought all plants need fertilizer.
Yeah, I mean, they're more suited to our specific environment. So they're like going to do well here if you choose the right spot for them, because like that's what they evolved to do. Like that's what they're made to do. So
Now, that's amazing. So it's really great to see that there's a conservation, sustainability, ecology plug to less water use, less chemical use. So native plants are really important for just environmental health in general. So, Sam, I know that one of the big kind of debates is that the native plants aren't always the prettiest plants, which is such a bummer. Never judge a book by the cover, right? So, can you let us know what's the difference between an invasive species, an ornamental species? What is a native species? I see that there's all these different titles. So, just because it's an ornamental species, does that mean it's invasive? Where do those lines kind of get divided up?
Oh, I was actually talking to someone about this today. So a native species is from here. So it's defined as a species from Florida or from wherever you guys live. An invasive species is not just an animal or plant that's from somewhere else. It's from somewhere else, and it's also, it causes harm to the environment. Usually that's because it doesn't really have a predator, a natural predator, so it outcompetes all the native plants. So in Florida, we have a lot of other species of plants that do well here. Many of them are ornamental. Many of them don't outcompete our native plants. And you can mix and match, like have fun with it. Have a great time. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so just because it's non-native doesn't necessarily mean it's invasive, but it also shouldn't be just introduced into whatever ecosystem it got placed in, because there is that risk, right? So as far as the differentiation between invasive, ornamental, native species. We're actually almost out of time, believe it or not. Sam, do you have any like gardening tips for all of our master gardeners at home, all of our green thumb enthusiasts, if they want to start a native plant garden for their own in order to save water and make an environmentally friendly choice? What tips and tricks have you picked up since working at Moat?
Oh, I think my favorite thing to do, like, obviously have fun with it. Like, have a great time, visit a native nursery near you, ask them questions, learn all about it. Something I love to do, if you can go to like a nature preserve near you or a state park or something and like see those plants in their native habitat, that's awesome. Like, that's so fun, and you can learn so much about how your local ecosystem looks by experiencing it. So that's my tip. Like, try to get out in nature and have fun.
That's a really good point because you get to see how these plants interact with each other, how they get to interact with the sunlight. Are they good with congestion? Do they mind being smushed in with other plants? You get to see how pollinators are attracted to them. So native bees and butterflies. So plus, I mean, if you want to be more economic, you're saving water by planting a native plant. Now, I see that we have about 5 minutes left. So while Sam is finishing up some of her garden tips and tricks, let me know and let Sam know if you have any questions and that you can start entering in the chat box. So Sam provided so many amazing examples and really highlighted what a garden guru she really is. She got to talk about plants and how plants are art, which is such a cool combination. So Sam, besides some tips and tricks of just going out and embracing nature, so can you say some like fun success stories that we've had here at Moat? Is there anything that was maybe like a concern for you or just a really fun story in general?
Oh gosh.
Oh, well, perfect transition too. We just got a question that says, what's your favorite part of the job? So we already met your favorite plant. So what is your favorite part of the job? That's a wonderful transition.
Oh, that's a really, I like that. I love planning a project, any project in my job, like be it a new exhibit or a sign or something. I love planning it and then like seeing it happen, like seeing it come to life and seeing guests enjoy it. It's so nice. It's as someone who likes to build things, that's so fun. It's so pleasant. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, it must be just the most gratifying feeling that you're coming to an aquarium maybe to see a shark, and then here you are with a guest who's taking a picture of that beauty berry you mentioned. So look at them embracing beautiful native plants as well. Now, I also want to give Sam a giant round of applause because I actually have one of her works of art with me right now. Yes, this is not a real sea turtle, but would you have ever been able to guess? Sam not only is an amazing master artist as far as plants go, but she's literally just an amazing artist. She painted this sea turtle model diorama for us. So this is a fantastic example of a lifelike, life-colored hawksbill sea turtle. So Sam is a fantastic artist. Now, there we go. Perfect. So not only can Sam provide some amazing botanical tips, but she can give you some art tips too. So if you have any art-related questions, feel free to let her know. We have about 2 minutes left. Let's see. We have a question about plant recommendations for plants that do well in the sun. So Sam, you mentioned that Florida, it's really hot. It's really humid. So do you have like a go-to hardcore survivor Florida sun plant?
Yes. Yes. The muhly grass will do great. And it's so pretty. It's got these like very fine round leaves. It's still a leaf, yeah. And it just looks like this little fan of grass. Yes, yeah, you can see it out front. Right there, we've got it with the perennial peanut, which is another really good full sun ground cover. Ours is still filling in that picture. It's a lot fuller now. But those two, like the perennial peanut and then the muhly grass, they do great. I love those. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, we also have another question about, do you do your own art and drawings? Do you have your own website? Is there any way for all these art fans that I'm pushing towards you to follow you? Is there any fun ways for them to support your art? I mean, Besides just coming to Moat, oh my goodness, they get to see your art all over the place. All the signage here at Moat Marine Laboratory is thanks to Sam, which is wonderful. So besides just coming and visiting us, is there other ways that we can see your art in action?
Well, now I need to update my website. That's been a couple of years.
No pressure.
I mean, me and every other artist out there, we use Instagram, but for now, yeah, come visit Moat, come see your exhibits. They look great. We did a lot of new stuff lately.
Amazing. Now, we are unfortunately out of time, which is such a huge bummer. But there's lots of ways, no matter where you're connecting from. I see that we have people from Wisconsin all the way to California. So by following Moat on social media, you get to see the plants, you get to see some of her amazing signage, you get to see some of the art in action that Sam works on every single day. So just by following us in all of our virtual learning platforms, that is a wonderful way to support Moat as well as support Sam. Now, if you want to bring Moat home with you, one of the greatest things you can do is by adopting an animal. Now, tragically, this beautiful sea turtle that Sam made me, that isn't up for adoption, but we do have some really adorable stuffed animals that are available through our Adopt an Animal program. Additionally, you can stay in touch with us if you would love some more plant recommendations. We have a really wonderful resource to share with you. It's called Flipgrid. And now Flipgrid is like a video voicemail session website. Now, you can ask any plant or marine science related topic on Flipgrid with a short little video question, and we will respond with a personalized video answer. So if you would love some recommendations on how to start your own native garden, feel free to leave us a little video question. I will forward that along to Sam. She can give you a personalized garden tutorial so she can let you know what plants will succeed and blossom no matter where you are. Now, I want to give Sam a giant round of applause. I learned so much. I don't know about the plants, but oh my gosh, my knowledge bloomed thanks to you. So this was absolutely amazing. Now, before we run out of time, we actually are already over on time. Sam, do you have any final closing thoughts?
Thank you guys for coming. Be excited about plants. Plants are the best.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you for providing all of these answers to our question. Now, once again, I really appreciate you tuning in. We have one last Summer Scientist Series seminar next Wednesday at 2. It's all about science writing. So we learned all about the plants at Moat. Now we're going to learn about how the science even gets funded in the first place. So we got to get grants from somewhere, and we get to meet the creative mastermind behind all of the science and the science writing that goes on here at Moat. So make sure you check out next week as well if you're a social science fan. So once again, my name is Ross. I was joined by Sam. Thank you so much for hanging out with us here today at Moat Marine Laboratory, and we hope to connect with you soon for other virtual programs. Bye, everyone.